Ladies and gentlemen, there's no question that what we need the most of today is moral clarity in the face of the war of Hamas versus Israel, the Jewish people, Judeo-Christian civilization, basically the entire world. We need to distinguish between death cults and democracies, between light and darkness. There is no one I've ever met in my life who has that moral clarity to distinguish between these two forces, other than Dennis Prager. Let's listen to Dennis talking about, at a debate about Hamas at Oxford Union Debates, about moral clarity in the face of extremism, hatred, and Islamic fundamentalism.
Nazi Germany was to Britain what Hamas is to Israel. Whether you agree with Israeli policies or not, and I don't agree with all Israeli policies, it is irrelevant. The question is that analogy fair? So let me ask you a question. I'll take you in a moment, actually in 2 moments. But let me begin. Who is the greater threat to peace? Let's forget Israel, okay? Who is the greater threat to peace in Syria? ISIS or Israel? Who is the greater threat to peace in Lebanon? Hezbollah or Israel? Who is the greater threat to peace in Egypt? The Muslim Brotherhood or Israel? Do you understand? In every case, everyone in this room would acknowledge that ISIS is a greater threat to peace in Syria than Israel. In every person in this room, I have to believe, even Professor Schlein, would have to agree that ISIS is a greater threat, that the Muslim Brotherhood is a greater threat, and that Hezbollah is a greater threat. All of a sudden, we change the entire scenario because it is now Hamas instead of Hezbollah or ISIS or Muslim Brotherhood. Number two, on this issue, just appealing to your common sense. In modern history, every war has been between a free state and a police state, or two police states. I cannot think of a 20th century example of any other. And the same holds true here. You have the police state of Hamas. If you differ with Hamas, they kill you. Where in the world other than Israel does anyone ever argue that the free state doesn't want peace and the police state wants peace? There is no other example on earth. There is no other example on earth of a country targeted for extinction. None. 220 some odd countries in this world. Only Israel is targeted for extinction. And we have a debate on whether the state targeted for extinction is the barrier to peace. That is quite a leap of faith. In the age of beheadings, as you have tragically experienced here in the UK, we have a debate. Hamas is a kindred spirit to ISIS and Hezbollah and Boko Haram. What do you think, they're an exception? All of those are monstrous. But Hamas, they're a terrific bunch who really want peace. If it only weren't for settlements. There were no settlements prior to 1967. Why wasn't there peace? Israel would dismantle the settlements for real peace in a moment because the Israeli people are much more interested in sending their kids to college and in having a peaceful life and in making a good living and inventing more medical and technological devices than they are in fighting wars. This would be the first free state in history to prefer war to peace. It is highly, highly unlikely. The Hamas covenant, which you heard from Adam earlier, the Hamas covenant, it says Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it. If I could have extra time, over 8 minutes, I would take your question, but I have too much to get through. The Islamic resistance movement is a distinguished Palestinian movement whose allegiance is to Allah and whose way of life is Islam. It strives to raise the banner of Allah over every inch of Palestine. Yale University translation. I'm sure they didn't use inch in the original.
On that exact point.
So that is what Hamas is devoted to. Now, yes, I can. Oh, then please.
So all of the organizations that you're citing as a threat to peace just happen to be Arab and or Muslim. Could you explain to me why you think that might be the case, that you only view these organizations as threats to peace?
I don't. Okay. You obviously, those of you who applauded perceived the profundity of the question that I didn't. I don't quite understand. They are all a threat to peace. That is correct. Why did I only pick on Arab Muslim? I said Boko Haram. That is not Arab.
Arab and or Muslim.
Yes, Arab and or Muslim. That is correct. The only beheading groups in the world today, to the best of my knowledge, are Arab or Muslim.
Why?
You see, there's no question that with all this propaganda against Israel, the Jews, Judeo-Christian civilization, the only way to fight back is with absolute moral clarity. Hamas stated in their charter in the 1980s, their aim is to murder every single Jew in the world. We have to take their words more seriously. Now, I'm assuming it's hard for Americans and people in Western Europe to understand the nuances here. There's a lot of propaganda, but if you get to the core issue, it's not about the Israeli Arab-Palestinian issue. It's about the Islamic war against the Jews and against Judeo-Christian civilization. We see this obviously spilling out on our streets in London, in Paris, in Brussels, in Toronto, in New York, and American college campuses. They are screaming exactly what they want. They want to globalize the Intifada. They chant from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. This is a war against extremism. It's a war against a death cult. And if we don't wake up to this soon, everything we believe in, our freedoms, our values in the West will all be lost.